All right, for those of you that are already in, we're going to give it about another minute and we'll get started soon. All right, let's get this show going. All right, hello and welcome to the third and final day of the Toluna Digital Launch event. Today, the focus will be on brand and communication insights and the need for agile solutions. As usual, I'm coming to you live from the basement of my home right outside of Washington, D.C., where I've been working as my office for the past 6 months. Kind of sad this is the last day of the event, but my kids are thrilled because in about 90 minutes, they can go back to treating every square inch of this house as their own personal playground. And also, I think there's a lawnmower coming back and forth, so why not? Anyway, for those that don't know me, my name is Phil, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer here at Toluna, Harris Interactive, and Crew on Data. I'll be moderating this session joined by other leaders from Toluna Group and insights leaders across the industry. Over the last 2 days, we've focused on how agility is critical to the new product development research process and how collaboration can improve the decision-making process and increase stakeholder buy-in in your organization. We were joined by insights leaders from brands across a wide range of verticals such as Facebook, Converse, Mondelez International, Moy Park, Colgate, and many more. These leaders provided an interesting perspective on how 2020 has accelerated their need for fast, reliable, and high-value insights, and how innovative solutions like Toluna Start is helping their businesses stay ahead of fast-moving consumers. In case you missed any of these sessions, not to worry. The Toluna team will be distributing recordings for all events very shortly. We have a lot of fun and exciting things to showcase to you today, but before we get into it, let's just go through some housekeeping items. Today should run just about over an hour, and we'll focus on agile brand and communication insights approaches that help you stay ahead of fast-shifting consumer needs. I'll kickstart the day with a quick introduction to the Toluna Start Consumer Intelligence Platform. This part might be a little bit repetitive for those that have joined any of the previous sessions, so I'll do my best to go through it quickly, just for those who've joined for the first time. My partner in crime during these events is the great Susan Vidler, Managing Director at Harris Interactive. She'll walk us through the business needs for agile brand and communication insight solutions. Susan's presentation will then lead us into a platform demonstration on automated solutions covering brand and comms within Toluna Start. Cara Edwards, our Senior Director, Digital Solutions, will be showcasing the powerful automation and real-time results delivered by the platform. Next, we'll dive into a roundtable discussion to hear from insights leaders from eBay, NBC Universal, and Asahi on key drivers and success factors to their insights organizations. And finally, we'll recap this amazing day. Just want to quickly remind all of you that you can talk to any one of our subject matter experts live at tolunalive.com. The community is open 24/7 and will be open for the rest of the week. So if you have any questions about Toluna Group or Toluna Start, go right there. All right, let's get on with the show. For those not familiar with us, Toluna Group is a global real-time insights firm covering Toluna, Harris Interactive, and Crew on Data. Toluna was founded 20 years ago by Frederic Charles Petit with the idea to democratize market research and empower all business decision makers with the right data to make the best informed decision in real time. Over the course of 20 years, we've evolved to cover all aspects of the market research data collection process and fuse the best of human insights with the best of technology to help you make faster, better decisions that drive positive business results. Today, we're a unique mix of skills covering technology, research expertise, and own one of the largest global consumer insights communities in the world. Our staff of 1,400 forward-thinking professionals span 26 offices around the globe. We strive to be a global group that can deliver your needs locally if and when needed. We are heavily invested in technology and believe strongly that powerful technology focused on agility and automation will help you stay ahead of fast-moving consumer sentiment and behaviors. If 2020 has taught us anything, it's that agility and real-time data collection is core to any insights program. And finally, the ability to reach the right people at the right moment to ask them the right question is critical to the success of any research study. As we all know, quality plays a key role across the insights collection process, and our ability to tap into over 30 million consumers across 70 markets with a deep degree of profiling means that you can build and reach the right audience every time. As you might have heard, we launched the next evolution of our technology stack, Toluna Start. This is the first true end-to-end consumer intelligence platform delivering the best of both DIY research and traditional research. You gain the flexibility, speed, and value of DIY technology while maintaining the quality, expertise, and collaboration of traditional research. Now, that might be hard to believe, and it was really, really hard to build, but this has been an evolution for us as a company for the last 10 years. It started with an online community panel that grew into a DIY survey platform that called Quick Surveys. Then things really started coming together when we acquired Harris Interactive and started integrating proven research methodology into our technology stack to automate the insights collection process in real time, from project setup all the way to actionable reports and deliverables. Today, it's not good enough just to have great technology or great methodology. Even great technology can deliver bad research or biased results in the wrong user's hands. And just relying on great methodology can be too slow to make an impact in this fast-moving consumer world. That's what brings us to this moment in time, utilizing a consumer intelligence platform which can cover all aspects of the research process, such as audiences, sample, communities, surveys, and analytics, integrated with proven research methodology at every step if you need it. Toluna Start is built for the professional researcher all the way to the novice, empowering you with the ability to build any custom projects covering all aspects of quant, qual, and or utilizing our automated solutions with integrated proven methodology to ensure that you get the right data and the right data is delivered so that you can make the best decision. Our goal today is to show you, and hopefully you take the opportunity to test drive Toluna Start for yourself and see the benefits that it can have on your insights program. We all want and should demand the best of both DIY research and traditional research without sacrificing quality or cutting corners during the insights collection process. Quite frankly, that is what's disruptive to our industry, and that's what democratizing research means to us. You shouldn't have to compromise your research program, and you never have to with Toluna Start. Now, enough talk from me. On to you, Susan. Are you ready to wow us here?
Thanks, Phil, and hello, everyone. As you've heard from Phil, the Toluna Start platform has been developed to meet both the current and the evolving needs of brands and agencies in the market. And we just want to take a few minutes to expand on that, specifically in relation to both brand and communications research, and take a few minutes to explore what the needs are in this space, how those needs are evolving, and how those needs are addressed through the platform via a demonstration that my colleague Carl will take you through following this presentation. Okay. So market research has changed a great deal over the last few years, and the pace of that change has only accelerated in the past 6 months. And the business problems that we help organizations solve in this space, so how to manage and monitor the health of your brands, how to understand how brands are performing against competitors, and whether or not communications are really resonating with the target audiences. These business issues haven't changed, but what has changed is the way the research is conducted, because the way in which the research conducted has needed to change, because we need to better support the organizations and the environments in which those companies that we're working for are operating. And it's not just that the whole process needs to be faster. It's about using automation and using technology to meet the need for speed, to meet the need for quality, for ease of use, for flexibility, for value, all at the same time. The pressure on organizations to do more with less continues, and efficiencies are really needed at every stage of the process to drive quality insights at pace. As if this wasn't enough, added to this, the impact of the global pandemic has really increased pressures on many aspects of our lives and also on the businesses in which we operate. Organizations have really needed to adapt how they communicate with their target audience to ensure that tone is appropriate, It resonates with consumers and ultimately reflects really well on their brand. And as consumer sentiment and opinion changes, it's vital to ensure that the brand is relevant and really meets the needs of the target audience going forward. Testing and monitoring a company's brand and its communications has always been important, but it's now more critical than ever. The drivers of change or the challenges faced by organizations were present, and they were definitely present before COVID-19. But for some organizations, COVID-19 has really increased the pace of that change in line with changing consumer behaviors. And just to give you a few examples, over the last few months, we've seen research conducted to assess behaviors, to assess attitudes, preferences throughout the pandemic as clients adapt and they adjust their communications to address the changing consumer needs. So many organizations have been testing new advertising campaigns to ensure the tone is appropriate. And prior to launching new communication campaigns, organizations have been checking imagery, checking the music, whether or not planned executions of adverts are actually really connecting with consumers emotionally in the way that they would like to. And also post-launch of any communications, organizations have been checking in that their communications are actually delivering as expected in terms of ad recognition, emotional engagement, and the required call to action. And in addition to this, we've seen new or different brand health programs have been launched with much more holistic set of measures to ensure brands are perceived as meeting the future needs of consumers and have the levels of energy and excitement and vitality required for the target audience going forward, alongside the more traditional brand metrics. And we've seen from our own 2020 consumer barometer, which we've been running every couple of weeks since the end of March, that global consumers are really expecting to spend more on certain products and services, and brands are looking to provide communications which can help take advantage of these opportunities. There is a need for more effective communication with consumers around safety measures in a number of particular categories. So we've seen that in areas such as gyms, beauty salons, entertainment venues, and getting the balance right on these communications is key in terms of increasing consumer confidence in these categories. We know from the barometer that consumers are looking to spend more on household cleaning, on personal care, on healthcare, entertainment, subscription services, and home improvement. And organizations have moved quickly to respond with the appropriate communications to help leverage consumer demands in this space. So being able to adapt quickly has been critical for brands over the last few months. And as a result, we've really seen a significant increase in the use of agile solutions and the need for projects to be completed in 24 hours. Most of the challenges the organizations we've been speaking to or working with can be grouped into a number of key themes or areas which I'll take you through. And these are the drivers and the themes that have really informed the development of the Toluna Start platform. The first one is obviously speed. We all know that the pace of projects that need to be run are faster than ever before, as organizations need to adapt their communication really quickly. And results from advertising and communications testing, are often needed in hours and days and definitely not weeks. So having pre-templated questionnaires already set up for things like comms testing, pre and post-launch, and for brand health measurement, so maybe as a one-off study or as an ongoing tracking program, supports the speed required. Templates can be set up for organizations using their own preferred design or one that we can provide for you based on best practice. But ultimately, time and resources are not wasted with multiple members of teams in an organization actually all working on developing the same sort of questionnaires from scratch, enabling the teams to focus on what they do best, which is adding value. And there are many examples over the past few months that I could give you, such as OTC providers or technology companies testing what the most effective adverts will be amongst very specific consumer groups prior to launch, to making sure that they get the tone right. But we've seen that this whole process has actually needed to be completed in terms of the initial briefing all the way through to actually making the decision on which advert to run in a few working days. In the past, quality and speed were often traded off one against another, but now technology has enabled best practice methodology and the rigor that goes with that to really be embedded in the solutions. So the design and the quality checks can be thought through in advance, saving time at the point of use. So as we've mentioned, pre-templated questionnaires, but also data visualization tools really aid this process. But in addition to that, the ability to access functionality, so functionality such as quota balancing capabilities or accessing relevant variables to your business needs, or being able to access an independently validated best practice brand measurement model, or features such as heat mapping tools or timed exposure. All this additional functionality only increases the quality of the design options for the studies. The next theme is ease of use. So organizations really expect that the technology that they work with needs to be easy to use and intuitive. Some organizations may want to use the platform DIY, and some may want a fully serviced option, or honestly, a lot want something in between, and we've seen that area growing. So an easy to use platform enables DIY when required, or service support when required. And also the ability to visualize results in an easy to use format is also absolutely key. So for example, if you're sharing results with different stakeholders or across teams within an organization, you could be working at pace, and many people need to share results in real time. And the people that they're sharing the results with may not be insight professionals. So they need to be clear and easy to read, and the format needs to be used in a standardized way across the organization. In addition to that, conducting both qual and quant studies on the same platform is also seen as an easy to use key benefit for many organizations. We understand that flexibility is key, and in the past it was maybe a bespoke option or a fully automated or standardized option with little or no flexibility at all. So a greater level of customization and flexibility for those who require it has been factored into the automated solutions. So flexibility has been added in terms of additional questions, whether or not you would like a monadic or a sequential monadic design. And flexibility also in terms of service levels, so DIY, maybe assisted service or full service. We recognize that organizations have more than one way of working. Sometimes it may be DIY, other times it's a fully serviced solution. So this flexibility is now a choice and not something that needs to be decided on for all the projects that you do or your entire organization or team. Ensuring value is always important, but as organizations are expected to do more with less and the current economic challenges post the outbreak of coronavirus take hold, ensuring value is absolutely key. Therefore, having an end-to-end platform that is easy to use, is flexible, enables quality insights at pace, support these needs in market. And then finally, technology and automation as a part of that is not a separate driver in itself. It's really the enabler that drives more agile brand and communication research and really helps that become a reality. And the developments in this area just continue, and you'll see enhancements as we continue to upgrade the platform. So just to recap, the need for brand and communications research is clear. And the business problems that we help organizations solve have not changed a great deal. However, what has changed is the way the research needs to be conducted in order to better support organizations and honestly the environments in which they are operating. Addressing the key drivers for agile brand and communications research is critical. And as I've mentioned, it's been at the heart of the development of the Toluna START program. So I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague, Cara. Cara is a Senior Director of Digital Solutions at Toluna, and we'll be able to take you through a demonstration of the Toluna START platform. And today we're going to focus on the brand and the communications solutions within the platform.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susan. Hi, everyone. My name is Cara Edwards, and I'm in our digital solutions, helping clients here in North America. Today, I'm going to be showing you how powerful the Toluna START platform is for all of your brand and comms testing needs. So testing your collateral at the minute is so important because all messages and all comms are being really scrutinized very differently at the minute. So if your brand slogan that you're putting out on your commercials is finger licking good, it's not necessarily going to make people want to rush out and spend their money in today's climate. But first things first, let's dive into the solution. You'll see the Toluna START solution on screen right now, and you can see how easy it is to use straight away. Everything in this environment is about understanding what do you want to do today. So you have the opportunity to launch and create concept and pack testing questionnaires, create your own tailor-made bespoke surveys, or even have a live conversation with consumers. So we're really mixing that qual and quant capabilities within this Toluna START solution. But today, we're going to be focusing on the brand and comms testing solutions that we have available. And we're going to be focusing on the both pre and post-launch options that we have available for our comms. You'll actually see in the My Projects area, here's all my studies that I have set up ready for us to go through today. And here's all of the different options that I have available in terms of my projects. You'll also see that I have the option to share these projects with others within my team. So if I wanted to share with Phil or with Susan my template that I'd created and that I'd customized, I have that ability to share that with them. So the speed and getting answers to those questions is even simpler the next time we execute the project. Let's zone in on the comms pre-test first. So this questionnaire is actually built to focus on ads prior to launch, meant to fine-tune commercial messaging, music, imagery, and slogans to increase its in-market presence and impact. You can easily identify areas of concern and where, if any, need any optimization. I actually launched this project beforehand, so I could show you what it looks like to follow the journey of the project all the way through. I tested a commercial that was ran in the US market for Diageo, the brand Smirnoff, part of the Diageo portfolio. If anyone's unfamiliar with the brand Smirnoff, they make lots of vodkas, lots of different vodka drinks. My personal favorite is Smirnoff Ice, but there's a huge array of different products that they have in their portfolio. This commercial was launched in the US. So what I want to do is actually show you what that commercial was, so you can then start to see how the different answers were came from the respondents at the end of it.
Zero sugar, still Smirnoff. I'm floating.
So that was the longer version of the questionnaire, of the advert. It was about 16 seconds long, but I also tested a version that was 6 seconds long. So I really wanted to see what the impact was between the two different lengths of the commercial. So building the questionnaire itself is really incredibly easy through our wizard. And you can see each page allows me to customize my metrics, stimulus, and KPIs. This is step one, but on step two, I define the brands I want to test against. And I want to see if the respondents know that this commercial is for Smirnoff. In step three, I look at brand attributes that best define the values and messaging that my brand stands for. It's important to see if the product is being recognized in the ads. So in step 4, I've added 0 sugar infusions, which is the product that was shown in that commercial, as well as some other products from the Smirnoff range. So I really want to make sure that people understand this is a brand new product from the Smirnoff brand. And then on step 6 is where I actually upload my ads. So I have the option to do this either as sequential, monadic, or monadic, and I've chosen to just expose the respondents to one commercial, so I can do a little bit of stat testing against the answers. But I also have a few other options within this wizard, within this final step. So you can see that I can easily toggle music and voiceover. I can turn that on and off, and that will automatically load the different questions in the background for the questionnaire. And then I can also define my different ad messages. So what are the key messages that I really want to test and see whether or not they're being picked up by the respondents. And then I do exactly the same for my second ad. So this is the short version, which is only 6 seconds of the same content, the same message. And that's it for the setup. Once I click done, the questionnaire will then automatically populate in the background. Using this wizard, it creates all of the different questions automatically. But when I scroll back up to the top, the final few steps in terms of launching this project are around the target page. So Toluna Start is an end-to-end solution. So what that means is our Toluna.com global community is embedded within this solution. So you can really easily reach any of the 30 million panelists we have across 70 markets. The next step is modify questionnaire, and that's where I have the power to modify and edit any of the questions. I can also add my own custom questions within here as well. We automatically add in 3 red herring questions for added security and data quality, but you can also add in any specific questions that you want within here. So if relating to this commercial, if I wanted to explore what people thought about healthier alcoholic drinks, or what they thought about the specific actor that was portrayed in there, I have that flexibility, and we can add as many questions into this modify questionnaire as we need to. And then finally, we launch it. So it's an incredibly easy process to launch, to set up, and to actually start getting the answers. And once I've tested it and it's gone live, I then start to get my answers. And here's where I actually see those answers. This is my info board that updates in real time as respondents are coming through into the completing the survey. And you can actually see within this info board, the metrics that it's delivering include things such as overall likability, brand impact, emotion, and message impact, and also calls to action as well. So looking at my Smirnoff ad between the long version and the short version, you can see the ads were pretty comparable, actually. Both have good recognition, which is really good. But the only thing that Smirnoff may want to review is that there is a drop of people correctly identifying the products that is actually advertising that this commercial is really focusing on. There is a slight drop in. So maybe Smirnoff may want to review how long the product or the name of the new range is shown on the screen. But otherwise, the highest emotion being happiness, that's a really good benchmark as well. So all in all, this took me 20 minutes to script through the wizard, and then we completed it with my weighted respondents to my specific demographic attributes on the Toluna community, and we had our results within 3 hours. So it's incredibly fast turnaround from start to completed having answers. I'm now going to jump over to the comms post-launch solution, which is all about learning if your in-market ad campaign is delivering on recognition, brand impact, likability, and emotional engagement. Essentially, what elements of the campaign worked or didn't work, and a chance to review the ultimate effectiveness of the campaign versus your objectives. As I mentioned before, the ad that I was testing was shown in the US, so I ran this project in the US to test how it performed in market compared to the previous one, which was shown in the UK, tested in the UK, as it wasn't shown there in the UK. And you can see here some of the metrics that we include in this info board include things such as ad recognition, likability, emotional intensity, and you can even see here that it includes some statistical significance to highlight where there are greater changes greater differences between the two ads for greater ease and more flexibility when creating your story. This is, again, built after completing our intuitive and easy to use wizard. And this info board, once I have my completed answers. You can see here that I can deep dive into the info board, so I can really understand what the different actions are across each of the people that did recognize the brand and didn't recognize the brand and who had been exposed to the ad previously. And you can actually see that in this calls to action filtered, this is people that correctly have seen the advert previously, and we've got a huge amount of statistical significance highlighting here. So the tool will automatically look at where there are large differences between the two sets of data and flag that for you, so you can get even quicker and better answers. Finally, let's look at the brand health template. This automated solution allows you to assess the strength of a brand in consumers' minds versus category competitors. This is a unique and completely proprietary approach using Harris Interactive IP that focuses on future relevance and brand vitality, ensuring the brand is fit for the future and to fight competitive threats. The pillars of this methodology include scores on brand equity, future relevance, excitement, but also trust, consideration, and recommendation. You can see the Smirnoff theme continuing in this brand health measurement as well. So when you look at the Smirnoff brand, you can see on screen that actually it's doing really well across all of the different brand health metrics. And I think the only thing that Smirnoff may want to keep an eye on is the emerging brands such as Ciroc. So the fact that Ciroc are doing something really interesting around the excitement category, people obviously feel very excited by the Ciroc brand and by the products that they're launching. So Smirnoff may want to keep an eye on that, but all in all, they're doing really, really well in their brand health measures and metrics. So as it relates to brand and comms testing, we've actually, the last few days have been incredibly powerful, hearing from different members of our industry about how technology is really changing their day-to-day lives. And actually on Monday, we covered NPD, and we will have recordings available. So if you weren't able to attend, we'll have those available for you. But Sibs from Premier Foods, she actually said, old methodologies cannot allow us to answer new business questions. And that quote just really resonated with me because it really epitomizes what we're achieving and what we're solving with Toluna Start. Toluna Start gives you that trusted, full-fat research methodology from Harris Interactive, but in an easy-to-use agile template and solution, so you can get your answers back in a really quick and agile fashion. It's really easy to get onboarded and to launch your projects as well and share within the team. Now, I'm sure you have a few questions, and I'd love to answer them all, but I know that you're mostly here for the roundtable. So what we've actually done, as Phil mentioned, is we've launched a live community so you can come and ask your questions. I'm actually going to be moderating that tomorrow afternoon, so I look forward to seeing you all then. But on that note, I'm going to pass it back over to Phil to kick off the discussion with the leaders from around the industry.
All right. Thanks, Cara. That was excellent. And I hope we're able to kind of, present and showcase just how powerful the technology can be and, honestly, just how real it is. So now we're going to jump into our roundtable discussion, and I'm waiting to see as people come back in and come back on live and on stage here. But we've got insights leaders from across the industry. I'm planning about 20-25 minutes of a roundtable, and then we'll leave probably 5 to 10 minutes for questions. So if you have a question to any of the panel members, myself or Susan, feel free to put it in the chat, and then the team will get to it. So great round of speakers, and I'm starting to see everyone come in. So I'll start with quick introductions. Jenny Lavelle, UK Insights Leads from eBay Marketplace. Hey, Jenny. Paul Thomas. There you go. Paul Thomas, former Global Director, Insights Planning and Performance at Asahi International. Paul, how are you?
Hi, everyone. Not former, but other than that, spot on.
My apologies, misread it. Sorry. Dan Casey, VP Global Consumer Insights and Strategy, Universal Pictures Home Entertainment.
Hi, everyone.
Dan, my bad, Paul. So we'll get back into that. Let's begin with an easy question. Why don't you guys just take a quick moment and discuss the role of consumer insights plays within your organization? Paul, Global Director at Asahi International.
Well, apparently, yeah. I mean, unless I've been sacked without knowing it. So insights really is the lifeblood of our business. You know, ultimately, beer's interchangeable. You can drink Stella, you can drink Heineken, or you can drink one of our lovely brands, Asahi and Peroni. The way in which we get consumers to choose our brands is by understanding them better, understanding the right message to deliver to them at the right touch point globally. Because if we don't do that, they'll 9 times out of 10 be just as happy as a competitor. So in theory, insights is what allows us that competitive advantage.
Awesome. Jenny, you want to jump in from an eBay perspective?
Yeah, sure. So from our perspective, obviously we have a wealth of data on our customers and their behavior on eBay. What we don't have from that is what they're thinking and their attitudes. So what we try to add from the insights team is that perspective on their opinions, their perceptions, why they're behaving in the way they do, and also giving that market perspective as well, which we don't see. We just see from our data what they're doing with us.
Awesome. Dan?
From our point of view, we're essentially launching 100 new products every year. So it's all about quickly understanding who the target market is, why they would be interested in this movie, how they want to consume this movie. And then on the other hand, we're doing a lot of strategic research, which is about how do people want to watch movies in the future? What are the trends that are happening? How does things like Netflix impact movie watching? So those are the two areas we're looking at for our insights.
Yeah. There was an interesting talking point that came out of our collaboration discussion in terms of, everyone pushing, especially from a business standpoint, the need for insights, the need to have quick and fast, reliable insights. And obviously, everyone in the call and all of us believe in this because it's what we do. But how easy is it, especially with organizations as large as the ones you are at, how easy is it to disseminate that information, and how quick is it to actually make action on those insights? Maybe Jenny, you want to start from eBay?
So the question was, how easy is it to publish the information and the insights that we receive?
Yeah, we are pushing to get data and insights faster and more real time than ever before. And when you get that data, how quickly can you actually act on it?
Well, I think traditionally we've probably through the sort of longer process of briefing an agency, getting a presentation, booking a time in and inviting people to it. But increasingly since lockdown and since we've been working remotely and since the need to adapt and make decisions very quickly, we have been just moving towards more agile solutions like things like the Power Concept tool that you guys have, where we can just send out a link directly to the results. So it's kind of in flux. We probably were a bit more traditional before and sort of moving ahead now.
Yeah, I don't mind going next. I mean, I think we at Asahi, we're not as big as Heineken or ABI. We're not going to have their big budgets to spend with the big agencies always. So quick, agile solutions are absolutely what we need. And within a business, we're getting to a point now where we're getting the results on Friday. We're briefing the business with what those results mean and the actions to take off the back of them on Monday. To the point a second ago, the days of waiting 3 weeks to get the debrief booked in because someone's on holiday, it just doesn't work anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, from my point of view, what's really helped is just really creating that schedule, have people know, a movie opens on Friday, on Tuesday, we're going to get together, we're going to talk about insights. So once you build that schedule and you build that anticipation, you get buy-in quicker, you get people action quicker because they know exactly what information they're going to get when, so they are ready to act on it.
Yeah. Now, as we talk about comms and brand, and I think no time that we've all been around, 2020 has impacted how we communicate, how brands should communicate with consumers. What changes, obviously, within the pandemic and within tense situations, especially here in the U.S. with race and equality. What type of insights are you guys specifically collecting, and then how are you guys changing the way you communicate about such, some long-standing brands haven't really changed the way they're communicating their messages. How have you guys kind of pivoted in this environment? Let me start with Danny with Universal.
What's really changed in our environment is, movie theaters stopped, and we had to pivot very quickly in terms of how are we going to make money with movie theaters closed. So we got sent home to work from home. And then we're immediately told that we're going to introduce this new product called Premium Video on Demand. So that was our kind of big change. Like, how do we make money in this environment? Well, we're going to go direct to home. And so we had to very quickly get up to speed on how we were going to do this, how were we going to talk to the consumer about it, how are we going to do exit polls when, you know, we can't talk to people coming out of the theaters anymore. So we really had to change a lot very quickly to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, and I'd follow up from that. We had the same problem. The pubs and bars were closed. And in the alcohol trade, when you sell in supermarkets, it tends to be the supermarkets that make most of the money. So what that meant was we immediately had to pivot probably away from big, heavy-duty above-the-line comms, more towards what's going to impact the shopper in store. So maybe new packaging, maybe new on-pack promotions. And when it came to research, our priority was, well, the assets that we'd already developed, that, you know, we're going to be going live in H2, ensuring that they are still suitable. We work in beer. Beer is sociable. People get together, have a drink and pat themselves on the back and have fun. COVID's made that difficult. So we spent a lot of time making sure that what we wanted to say, consumers would still be comfortable with.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, a key learning for us was that different people were having very different experiences to the whole crisis. So in terms of like financial situation, you know, it was the lower incomes that were more likely to be furloughed, but the middle classes seemed to be, you know, finding themselves up with more disposable income. So there was this dichotomy happening there. And then there's this real difference in terms of people being worried. So everyone assumed that everyone was just running around in a blind panic, but there was an equal number of people who were completely nonplussed and, you know, weren't really following the guidelines. And then this complete difference in terms of how much time you had. Like, some people were taking up new hobbies and posting pictures of themselves drinking Prosecco in the garden, whereas, you know, if you had kids, it was the complete opposite scenario. So there was, I think in Insights especially, we're always trying to sort of average people out, and so we can just target them in one way. And what we realized is that this has always been a little bit flawed, but it was now people were flexing even more between different things, taking on new roles, and due to the changing situations, they were one thing one minute or something else the next. So this total like unpredictability just meant that we can't really plan for anything. So we just needed to be prepared to adapt quickly. And, you know, going back to what you've just presented about this need for agility and being able to make quick decisions and act, make informed decisions quickly, that became more important than ever.
Have you seen the need to do more core brand testing or just changing the way you communicate during this time? Because just like you mentioned, I mean, everyone's kind of changed a bit, and maybe, obviously everyone here has a product or service that's still relevant today, but there's some industries where there's no use for you right now or right at the time in the middle of a pandemic, and you're almost better off not communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys seen a more of an impact on maybe we need to look at our core brand messages?
I don't mind going first on that one. I mean, I think for us, you know, beer was going to continue to be drunk, whether at home in the garden, preferably rather than that Prosecco, or when people go back to the pubs, beer will still be drunk. So it wasn't a question of throwing the baby out with the bathwater when it came to our comms. It was actually more around taking what we had and reskinning it. So to give a quick example, a Peroni Nastro Azzurro ad, which we developed, showcasing this beautiful Italian ritual of Italian consumers getting dressed up in their best clothes, walking out in the streets, sun on their back to go and have their aperitivo. We know consumers across the world loved that image of Italy, but we realized that when lockdown came to an end, that one of the things that people had missed most was that moment of socializing, going out, the little things of clinking glasses with your friends. So we reskinned that advert to be more around welcome out of lockdown, you know, walk with us, as we called it, and it had huge success.
Should I answer?
Yep.
So in the immediate sort of aftermath of lockdown, so eBay was in this position where there were some unscrupulous people who were taking advantage of the situation. Lots of things were scarce, people were stockpiling, and there was this thing called price gouging happening, where people were inflating the price of like hand sanitizer, for example. So in the short term, we had to have a quick response to say what we would do, the actions that we were taking to remedy that. But also we put out a very, very quick campaign within about a week of lockdown, which we didn't have time to test, just over press and radio. And it was a very simple campaign just to say that we were still open, and there were lots of small businesses that you could still buy from through eBay. So that was a very quick response to reassure people that we weren't approving of these sellers who were doing these things on our site. The most important thing for us to get right at the time was the tone. So we were aware that what companies did now was going to be remembered by consumers, because they're in a heightened state of alertness. So we needed to be absolutely sure that we got the tone right, and we weren't seen to be profiteering. We did have a campaign planned that was going to talk about supporting small and medium-sized businesses, but we had to repurpose that and amend the brief to make it more relevant to the situation. Obviously, timelines were very tight. There was a lot of testing. We had to change, the focus groups moved to online. We had to change the way we shot it, and we couldn't shoot with actors. It had to be done from the kitchen table of the creative. So there were all these things that we had to adapt to that required a lot more testing. But yeah, the key thing for us was getting that tone right, making sure that we didn't come across in the wrong way.
Yeah.
For us, demand for our products was really high, because people were looking for things to do. They were trapped at home. So digital movie sales went through the roof. We thought physical sales would be harmed just because of the issues with going to stores, but we actually saw an increase in people buying movies on disc for the first time in 5 years. So all of that was going really well for us. What our communication challenge was really, how do we communicate this new product, this premium video on demand product, where we're going to be charging people $20 for a rental. So new price point that hadn't existed before. How do we communicate the value of that? Because consumers are used to spending $5. Why would they now be willing to spend $20 for that? So for us, it was all about education, what this new product is and what the value proposition is.
Susan, I think you're trying to chime in here from a research and provider standpoint. I mean, how have you seen, especially comms and drug testing, evolve over the last few months?
Oh, definitely. I mean, what both Jenny and Paul says actually really resonates really strongly with me, because we work across a number of different categories, but probably one of the biggest challenges for people has been to retest or repurpose, as you say, their original planned communications. A lot of effort and time has gone into these advertising campaigns, and they were planned in advance. And then actually there was a real concern with lots of our clients that the kind of concern about getting it wrong, because even over a few weeks period of time at the start of lockdown, sentiment was really changing. So making sure that the tone was correct was probably the most important thing for people, because not only that it would attract the consumers to the product, but actually that it would reflect well on their brand. Because getting it wrong in this time was a real concern for people, and wanting to make sure that there was no damage to their brand or to their reputation was absolutely just as critical as making sure that people understood what the communication was about. So we've seen a huge uplift in people retesting planned work, really having, honestly, most of the time needing to change it, because the emotional reaction to it was so different because of people's totally different state of mind. And actually something, for example, one of the efforts that, we worked with someone on, where someone thought it was something that was supposed to be quite comforting, nostalgic and quite emotional, actually ended up being quite sad, quite making people feel quite distressed. So, they really needed to change it. So I think that's been critical for people, because, as Jenny says, how brands react during this time is remembered by consumers. And what you don't want to do is you do anything to damage your loyal customers as well as attracting new ones. It's been a very difficult balance, I think, for brands, and something that I think the communication side of both brand and communications is probably really needed to kind of almost over test, because the worry about getting it wrong has been right up there.
Yeah, it's, especially in times like this, when everything that's going on, authenticity to the brand is just as important. How much of that have you guys kind of evolved and tested over these last 6 months? Maybe Paul, you start with you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a huge amount. I mean, building on Susan's point a minute ago, I think lots of brands have got it wrong, actually, and have, I'm talking as a consumer here rather than an insight guy, felt quite exploitative. A lot of brands saying they've been here for me. Have you? I'm not convinced. You know, I look at my overdraft statement. I know you haven't been here for me, bank. But we wanted to make sure that what we did was true to our brand. So whether that was Asahi Super Dry, which is all about the sort of spirit of discovery, which is a very Japanese thing, we needed to hold off until consumers are in that mindset where they were free to go and discover and try new things. It wouldn't have really been appropriate for us to do that. As I mentioned, for Peroni, where we stand for sort of Italian style and sort of high living, we had to make sure that was done in a very, very sensitive way. We didn't want to go too early and make people sad that they were missing out. We wanted to wait for the right point where people were starting to get ready to come back out again. I think if we'd have gone early, as you said, it would have been people sad about what they're missing rather than ready to celebrate those little things that they can have again. Yeah,
and I mean, today you hear it fast. You hear it probably faster than most insights firms if you're not authentic, because it gets blasted all over social media. How have you guys kind of handled that challenge at eBay?
It was a really tricky one, actually, and I did read some results on advert testing during COVID that showed that people that a lot of the adverts had a decrease in store and brand memorability, because everybody was doing the same thing pretty much, because there seemed to be only one way to get the tone right. And so there's this sort of montage that someone put together where it showed about 10 different brands all doing like some somber piano music and, you know, and sort of pictures of deserted high streets. But I think we had to prioritize getting the tone right over unique brand presence, and I think even if brand standout took a bit of a hit, that was probably the right thing to do.
And Dan, I mean, I think from your perspective, you guys kind of probably got hit the worst from a theatrical release standpoint. How did you guys come to the decision to say, okay, well, you know, we'll hold this title or hold this movie versus let's put it in, you know, a streaming service and such?
Yeah, I mean, that was challenging. I mean, we had been talking about this premium video on demand product for years. Honestly, I've done research on it for probably 10 years, but there was always, you know, it was never the right time to launch it. We tried a few times, never the right time, and now, like, the perfect time just presented itself. You know, and our leadership acted very quickly to say, bidders are closed. Now's the time. We've got to do this, and we had like less than a week to get the thing launched. And so it was like the first three were just the movies that were, I just gone into the theaters: Invisible Man, The Hunt, and Emma. They were in theaters. Like, let's take those directly to PVOD. And we knew we had Trolls coming up, and Trolls was going to be a big movie for us. The ad campaign had already started. All the promotions had already started. So that was one we couldn't really push back because there was already too much momentum, too much money invested in that. So that became an obvious choice for kind of the first choice to test this. And so, you know, we tested that, it went well. So then it just became a title by title basis. And so, you know, some of our bigger tent poles, like the Fast movies, got pushed, Minions movies got pushed. Some of the more mid-level ones, like King of Staten Island, those are kind of more ideal for this PVOD environment right now.
Yeah, I can tell you the Trolls one was great because we watched it about 35 times already. So
thank you. We thank you for that.
Well, and just thinking about that too, you know, you talk about how you probably accelerated this specific program, and that's happening, I mean, across so many different verticals. We look at it from an insight standpoint, the acceleration of DIY adoption too. has that kind of changed the way you guys have collected insights over the last 6 months? Maybe it wasn't something you were planning to do in 2020, but because of it, you kind of incorporated it. And do you think it's something you'll keep going into 2021?
Yeah, I mean, everything has changed just because the way we're looking at it, we had to sort of understand who is this premium video on demand consumer, right? We had to do a lot of work about what was going on. Who are they? Why are they renting? What's their satisfaction? How many times are they renting? Are they going to buy it later? So there were a whole host of questions because we've never introduced a product like this before, and understanding why people are doing this. But also we know once movie theaters open, then the proposition becomes different. Because right now we understand what premium video on demand is like in a world where there is no theatrical, there is no theaters open. But pretty soon we're going to have to then relearn that and say, all right, what is the world like where people have a choice? I can go to the theater and spend my $10, or I can do this product for $20. So it's hard. We can't even gather those insights yet because consumers really don't have that choice. So once that starts, then it's another wave of research to understand what PVOD looks like back in a more typical theatrical world. So there is a lot going on, and it all needs to be done very, very quickly because things are changing every day in the theatrical landscape.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to think of ourselves as relatively early adopters on self-service programming, on machine learning, on all these kind of much quicker tools versus your old methodologies. But I think what COVID-19 has done is firstly reassured us that we were moving in the right direction by doing a lot of that kind of stuff. But also, as it's made it a necessity. It means that I think when we come out of COVID-19, our marketers are used to getting their results within a couple of days, if need be, going on the platform to look at and answer themselves. I don't think what we're going to be able to do is go back on January the 1st and go, no, it's back to a 2-month timeline, I'm afraid. I hate the expression, the new norm, but I think that's what it might be for us insight teams, if indeed it wasn't already.
I feel like 2-month timelines even years ago was too long, right? So. Jenny?
So what was the question? How do we think things are going to change going forward?
No, it was more so you probably didn't plan to take on something or to, launch a new solution or do more DIY, but 2020 forced you to it. Was there anything you felt like you adopted early and you will just stick going into 2021?
We've been just doing things more frequently and getting more frequent dips of consumer sentiment. So the research agencies have been fantastic in being proactive and doing these dips themselves. But I don't think I've ever done that much in-depth analysis of how people are feeling just as a general UK consumer so frequently. So that's probably the main thing.
And Susan, I mean, from your perspective, do you see your clients, specific verticals maybe adopting different technologies, different solutions in this time?
Definitely. I mean, I kind of agree with Paul. I think most people were on that journey anyway. But now for many of them who've tried new techniques, so if they've tried, like live discussions, online qual, maybe if they haven't tried it before, or just so used to being able to see results within a day, or to meet a particular meeting deadline, which is only a couple of days away. There's no going back from that. As we've been having conversations with clients, you can't have really key stakeholders that you can provide information to one day within 24 hours and then, in the next month go, well, actually, that was, an unprecedented situation. None of us will be working.
Yeah.
It becomes So it becomes what's expected. And also for many people, it's been, a kind of time where they can try something new because they've really needed to. So actually that's given a lot of people confidence in some of the agile solutions that I think that potentially they might not have had before. So yeah, I agree with Paul. I don't think there's any going back for many people. I think most people were on that road anyway. And, some of them were quite far down it. For those just who'd started on the journey, then, I think it's given them confidence. And also I think you just get very used to what you're used to getting within that month. It's been 6 months now since the start of lockdown, and people are just accepting it as that's the way we work now.
Yeah, I mean, from a technology and just product standpoint, for us, I think the industry as a whole has been progressing in terms of the stigma of DIY being poor quality. And if anything, the last 6 months we've seen that's not the case. A powerful tech stack in the hands of a researcher, a person who knows what they're doing, is even more powerful. And that's something I've seen accelerate personally over the last 3 to 4 months, and why we want to infuse methodology into DIY tools so that even if you're not a powerful researcher, you can still get some reliable data. I think this is a good point maybe to see if there's any questions from the panel and from the audience.
Yeah, I can see one. Let me just ask this to everyone. So it kind of goes back to, a little bit the conversation that we've been having, but specifically around methodology. So the question is, how do you get over the inertia of old methodologies that are embedded in the business practices, no matter how out of date they are? So maybe we could go around and maybe see how people have got over that challenge internally.
Yeah, I'll start on this one just because for some reason in the theatrical business, people love to stick to old methodologies. Our business is they want research to stay the same. They want the same research that they've done for 100 years and their same norms and all of that. So it is quite a challenge. What I find is that it's always best to just let people know how you're going to make their lives easier, right? The reason we're switching methodologies is to make our lives easier in some way, either because we're going to get data faster, we're going to get better data, we're going to get more actionable data. And so if you can convince someone that, hey, the reason we're doing this is to make your life easier, it's much easier to get them on board with the change.
Yeah, I can go next. I mean, I think there's two things, building on the previous comments. Firstly, the way that I've always done it. So when I arrived at Asahi, I won't swear and use another agency's name, but we were using a very major, well-known global player who charged quite a bit. And at first, it was very difficult to dislodge that. So what we did was two things. Number one, in my budget, I put aside a pot for parallel testing. So with a smaller, slicker, quicker supplier, I ran research at the same time as the big other one. The results from you guys at Toluna were quicker, just as reliable, and literally 20% of the cost. So then it was very easy for me to go to my boss, the CMO, and go, "You sure you want to spend this much now? Look, you can have it for a fifth of the price." And then the second one is making them realize, well, look, if you're only spending 20% on that part, this is what else we can do for you. This is the extra insight we can bring in. You remember that thing we said we couldn't do because we had no money? Well, now we can. Normally, if you flip it like that, over time, you'll get them on board.
Yeah, I love that example, especially within that parallel test, because we try to push that too, and adopters like you, Paul, or you trying that just make it easier. And for us, it's not about it's not about being cheaper, right? It's about driving more value within that research and extending your budget. So that's a great example, and I appreciate that, Jenny.
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo what they've just said, in that it's all about selling in the benefits of whatever alternative that you're proposing. You've got to be prepared with what you want to replace it with, whatever your solution is, and just make sure you understand what your stakeholder wants and you're answering that.
And maybe just to give an example of that in action that we've seen. So because of people's kind of, I think, more openness to try new things during this time, we've seen quite a few people run brand pieces. So not a massive tracking program, but they already have one in place, and they've actually run potentially parallel with a brand pulse to see what's going on. And actually the metrics that are in both are usually the same, but actually they can put in additional metrics, and it gives them confidence that actually they can enhance, they can kind of revitalize some of these programs that potentially they've had in place for ages, but actually being quite risk averse in terms of wanting to change them because they're big tracking programs. So, I mean, I love that parallel, because, as researchers, the proof is in the evidence. So you want to provide the evidence, and you want to say, well, actually, we're looking at both these metrics, you're going to get the same answers. It's all about what you're trying to achieve, and not trying to throw something out that's working, but actually find an alternative that's going to give you, this ability to do what we were talking about earlier, which is to, to do more with less and actually do it in a more effective way, without kind of losing what you've had in the past.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions for our panel?
Not that I don't think that people haven't covered. So lots about what new techniques people have used, and which I think has been covered. So
great. Thank you all so much for participating, engaging in the amazing discussion. Thank you, Jenny, Dan, and Paul. Paul is still currently at SI, so sorry about that again. This concludes our 3-day Toluna Digital Launch event. I thank all of you for participating, for engaging, and I hope we were able to showcase to you the power of technology, the power of research methodology, and how that can drive insights to you in a more agile and influential way. If you have any questions for us, if you need anything from us, you know where to reach us. And you can always reach us 24/7 at tolunalive.com. Thank you so much and have a great one.
Thank you.